My name is Ruzana Pshu. I'm a professor and Doctor of Science in Philosophical Studies. My affiliation is Russian People's Friendship University, Moscow, Faculty of Social and Humanitarian Studies, and I'm a Chief of Department of Oriental and African Studies. So my specification or specific interests in Indian philosophy, in Sanskrit, and that's why I'm here. I have been learning ancient Greek language, and my teacher said me that if you want to be accepted in serious manner by your colleagues in Indian philosophy, you should start to learn Sanskrit. And when I was a very young student, I found, in Moscow State University some course, and I started to learn Sanskrit there. And during many years, I have been learning Sanskrit. Until now, I'm not satisfied by my level, and just trying to deepen it. When you read, translations of old Sanskrit texts, it's sometimes, any translation as Umberto Eco said, a translation is a betrayal. So in a bad sense, it means that any translation puts some illusions, some, not inadequate senses in its translation. And when you read the original text, if you know language very well, you understand more and deeper the sense and the content of the text. And that's why when you are a specialist, you should rely on Sanskrit, an original text in any tradition, not only Sanskrit. If we take Latin or Ancient Greek or Arabic or Chinese traditions, my position is that firstly you should learn language of this tradition, because language and the style, the mode of thinking is, on the one level. There are mutual relationship between them. That's very important problem, because when you read classical Sanskrit, you read, ordinary, not ordinary, I mean normal in grammatical sense of this word, normal text. So you find words with, formants, with suffixes, affixes, and, many cases and many grammatical forms. But when you read a very mature philosophical language, there are some other syntactical features. You can find not many grammatical, forms, but many compounds. So in Ramanuja texts, for example, I found a sentence which contained 30 compounds, so 30 words without grammatical, forms. And it was one word, five lines, for example, one word with one grammatical form. And it was very difficult to understand, because your consciousness must be, like universe. It must have space for such a rich, senseful sentence. And of course, your consciousness also has to have, dynamics. Must be very active to construct, to reconstruct, to operate with this, senses of these words, and to form one meaningful sentence. It's a kind of exercise, of intellectual exercise, first of all. When you go to opera, it's not pop music. Yes, it's not when you are preparing food and you are dancing. Yes, just you are sitting in the opera or in your chair at home and listening very, very high-level art of singing. Yes, it's a hard work to listen it, not to think. only, but to listen it also, to understand it. And philosophical text in Sanskrit, it's also very high level, intellectual culture, first of all. Your mind must be cultivated already to understand it, and not only understand, but enjoying of it. Because the last or this, final task, final aim of your intellectual exercises is your intellectual enjoyment. And that's why we are, we are working very hard just to go to this, heaven of this universe, philosophical universe. It's a type of meditation, if we can compare with the yogic tradition, yoga. It's like meditation, and it's also like yoga. You should, or you are trained to hold your attention on one thing in the text, and just to the whole your body, your mind, your language are working at that aim. And it's a very, inordinary experience for me. And for the first steps, it was very hard for a young girl or man, or, to reject some other enjoyment and, just to, like sportsman in Olympical. But there is a sense in it, in this process, and I recommend to learn Sanskrit to everybody, not only to just to read, etc. Because Sanskrit language develop your mind, develop your reception of the world, your creativity, and when you read such a compound text like Bana Kadambari in Sanskrit, or Ramanuja, or Shankara, or Abhinavagupta, etc., your consciousness is more, is wide, and the other affects like anger, like some other not good things which happen with the human being are not so important, became not important for you, because when you see such a beauty, the other, individual mundane things are not so good, not good enough. There are, I will tell you about two traditions. So when you take a Russian tradition, we have some, some books, some handouts, or for the students of Sanskrit, and the basic feature of such a book is to adaptate the Sanskrit for the Russian people. So the grammar of Sanskrit is given in portions, in like Latin language, or like Ancient Greek. So there is another methodology of teaching of Sanskrit. And Indian tradition, based mostly on Panini's grammar, and it's absolutely, difficult for the Russian people without any preparing before to understand what they want from me. So the first question which a Russian student can ask his teacher, if he teaches him in Indian tradition, I don't understand it at all, what he wants from me. So there is another logic, another, methods of teaching. And if you learned Sanskrit in Russian tradition, you can learn it firstly and mostly as a dead language, so the language, not living language, just for your scientific purposes. So when I started to learn Sanskrit, I read, but I didn't speak, and I didn't understand if somebody talks in Sanskrit. It was only for reading and translating some philosophical books. So it was, technical tasks. But if you learn Sanskrit in Indian tradition, you became Sanskritist. So you think in Sanskrit, you talk in Sanskrit, you can. Anyway, you can. So these methods of teaching are for that purpose. So that's the main difference, in my opinion. I wish for Nepal and Nepal peoples to be happy. Sarve pisukhinach santu, sarve santu niramayach, etc. So be happy, and everything will be okay also. Okay? Thank you very much.